Today's daf is Daf Nazir Daf Memhei. We're going to begin from Nazir Mem Dalet Amud Beis. I just want to show a picture on the screen over here, so you'll get pretty much you're familiar with this picture of Beis Hamikdash, right? So I want to point out to you that right over here, when you come into the Beis Hamikdash, is called Machne Levia, right? It's called Machne Levia. Levium were here, and over in this area, a zav. If you have a zav, if someone became a zav is somebody who had erectile dysfunction, and Layolenu has some sickly semen come out of him, so he's not allowed to enter this area. But here's very important: a tmei mace, someone who touched a dead body, is allowed to enter here, this area.
Oh yeah.
So that's why they give you tours on the Harabayas, because even though you go to the mikvah, if you went to the mikvah, you're tar. Even if you consider yourself a tmei mace because you didn't have the sprinkling of the paraduma, a tmei mace technically can go into this area. So those that give the tours know not to take you too close to the main area. The main area is the sanctuary area, the Oil Moed. This is called Machne Shechina, where the presence of Hashem is. And here, not even a tmei mace can go. If you're Tommy Mace, you can't walk in here. And also, if you didn't bring a carbon, let's say you owe a carbon, let's say you're a Yoledis, even if you went to the mikvah, but if you still owe a carbon to the Beis Hamikdash, that's called Mechusir Kapara. You didn't bring the carbon, so you can't enter here. So, basically they would send the carbon through the doors and give it to the Kohen to make it. And then once they got their Kapara, they were allowed to enter this area. Okay, so all you got to know is there are two areas over here. One is called Machna Shechina, and one is called Machna Levi, the camp of Levi. So let's go into the Gemara. We're starting from
beginning.
We're starting from okay. Here okay. We're starting from about like Mem Dalet Amud Beis, about like 9 lines from the bottom. Amar Abaya. So Lewis and Al, I just want to point out that in the Beis Hamikdash, there were two areas. One's called Machne Levi, where a zav is not allowed to enter there, but a tmei mace, if you touch the dead body, you can enter there. Okay, that's why they give tours on the Temple Mount today, because even if you're a tmei mace, you can go. And then there's called where you can't bring, even a tmei mace can't go into beyond this wall, beyond Nicanor wall. Okay, Amar Abaya. So Abaya made his comment, and he said, I found the friends of Rav Nosson bar Hashaya. They were sitting around and saying, by a zav. Again, a zav is somebody who has an erectile dysfunction, and he has semen, and it came out of him, a sickly form of semen. And if it came twice, if he had two events like this, he has to go to the mikvah. He has to wait 7 days with no event, and then go to the mikvah. If he had 3 times, then he has to wait 7 days, go to the mikvah, and then bring a carbon. Now, why he brings a carbon, it could be that because he got healed. And if someone gets healed, he brings a carbon taida. So this is similar to that. So the pasuk says, he goes to the the Torah describes when he goes to the Beis Hamikdash, right? So the Torah describes he goes to the Pesach Oil Moed and brings his karbanos to the Kohen, the Zav. So, when did the Zav go into the Beis Hamikdash? So, Bizman, what the Gemara is dealing with over here is, let's say that Zav went to the mikvah, but he didn't have sunset. Sunset didn't pass over him. So, the question is, can a Zav who went to the mikvah and not have the sunset on him, can he walk into this area of the Beis Hamikdash, the Machne Levi? So the Torah implies that the 7th day you went to the mikvah. Then the Torah says on the 8th day come to the Beis Hamikdash. So Bizman Shehu Tavav also Shemesh in. Only if the Zav went to the mikvah and had sunset, then he can walk into Machne Levi. Loi Tavav also Shemesh, but if he didn't go to the mikvah and have Har Shamish, but even if he went to the mikvah and did not have sunset, loy, not. Alma, so we see from this brisa, Kasava, this brisa holds, full yom shel zav, kazav dami, that if a zav goes to the mikvah, he's still like a zav. So therefore, as long as the Zav did not have sunset, even though he went to the mikvah, he still cannot go into that part of the Mesa Mikdash called Machne Levi. So that's what the friends of Rabbi Nosson Bar Yeshua told Abaya. So Amina Lahain Anos. Abaya responded and says, I don't agree. Because you're interpreting that the pasuk says that he should come to the oil moed and bring karbanos to the kohen. And you're telling me that it's a permission for him to go to the kohen, to the oil moed, because until now he wasn't. But there's another way to learn, is that come to the oil moed, you were permitted to go into the oil moed, but now you're doing your karbanos. But you learned it to tell you a restrictive law that a zav, although he went to the mikvah, cannot go into Machne Levi. So then, then how are you going to read this pasuk by a Nazir? Gaya by Nazir, a Nazir Tome Nami, a Nazir that touched the dead body. Let us say the same thing. The Ksiv, the pasuk says, when a Nazir touches a dead body, Ovay Yoim Hashmini Yovi, I have the pasuk on the screen, V'Yom Hashmini Yovi on the 8th day. So he went to the mikvah on the 7th day. On the 8th day, this Nazir goes to the oil mayat and brings 2 birds to the kohen. So, are you going to tell me that Emasai Hubal, when is a Nazir permitted to walk into that Machne Levi up until the doors of Nicanor? Bisman Shetov Aser Shemish? Are you going to say that only when he goes to the mikvah and had sunset? Wait a second. Michte, at worst, they'll go to Memhei Amid Aleph. Michte, at worst, Share Niknor Hecha Kayamim. Where is the Shari Niknar? Where is the Shari Niknar? Those are special doors that separated the Machne Levi to the Machne Shechina. That's located over here. This is called the Niknar doors. When do you say? Are you telling me that the Shari Niknar doors are in the camp of Levi? Right? It's the camp of Levi. But Tanya, and we learned in a brisa, if someone touched a dead body, he's permitted to go into Machne Levi. And not only that, not only is if you touch a dead body, you could go into that area, but you can make a levaya in that area. Let's say there's a great rabbi who died, you can make a levaya in the base of Mikdash in Machne Levi, because alfilah makes atzmai. Even the dead body itself could go into that area. Shenema, because the pasuk says that Vayikach Moshe was the Levi. Wherever Moshe was, that was Machne Levi. And he carried around with him as Atzmos Yosef Imai. The bones of Yosef were always with Moshe Rabbeinu. So my Imai, what does it mean? It was with him. Imai b'mechitzase, it was in his domain. Imai b'machne Levi, with him in the camp of Levi. So the question is, how are you going to learn pshat in that pasuk that tells me that only when the Nazir goes to the mikveh and has Herav Shemesh, so he's not a Tmei Meis, then he could walk into Machne Levi, even if he didn't even go into the mikvah, even if he's not a Tmei Meis, even if he's a Tmei Meis, he could walk into Machne Levi. A dead body can walk into Machne Levi. So anyway, how do you learn pshat in this brisa before and interpreting the pasuk? Elam Abaya is going to say like this: Tzvul Yom Shel Zav Lav Kezav. You have to read it a little bit strange. Tzvul Yom Shel Zav. If someone goes to the mikvah and he's a zav, he's not like a zav. So technically, what the Gemara is saying over here retracts. A zav that went into the mikvah, he is permitted to go into this Machne Levi. There's no problem with him going into Machne Levi. So, but when does it become a problem? We'll see. But if he's a Tful Yom plus he's missing his kapara, so let's say he's a zav that saw an event of a discharge of 3 times. So really, he has to bring a korban, and he went to the mikvah, and he did not have sunset and bring the korban. So he has a 2-step process to be totally pure. That's what the brisa means. He can't walk into Machne Levi. So only a zav who actually saw two times. So if he's a Tvil Yom, he could walk into Machne Levi. But if he's a zav that saw 3 times, and therefore he has 2 steps. One, he has to have sunset, and one, he has to bring the korban. He can't walk into Machne Levi. The Iba Machne Levi comment. Now the Gemara is asking a question. Why does the Chumash say by the pasuk? Let's go back to the pasuk by a zav. It says the guy who's a zav comes lifnei Hashem el Pesach oil moed unesanam el hakoyin, and he gives it to the kohen. That means if you read the pasuk literally, He walks up to this building, this tall building, and then he gives it to the kohen. How can he's not letting walk into the machne shechina. So how do you interpret that part of the pasuk? So how do you interpret that part of the pasuk that he walks into the oil moed? So that's the Gemara is asking. Remember to say ma hasam mechusa kapara loy ayel. The reason why it calls it oil moed, because everybody knows a machne, when you in the machne shechina, right, where that big building is, the sanctuary, certainly if you didn't bring your carbon, you can't enter there. So also, we're telling a Zav that if you didn't bring your carbon, even though you went to the mikvah, you're also a mechusa kapara, and therefore you're not going to allow to go into Machne Levi, albeit only if you didn't have sunset. Now, the Hasim in Olam, how do you know if somebody didn't bring his carbonis, he's not allowed to enter that sanctuary, enter that building, enter that area where the building is, Machne Shechina. The Tanya, we learned in the Brisa, Tamei that Tamei, somebody who's a Tamei, he can't, L'Rabbeis Tvul. Just going to the mikvah is not enough to allow you to enter in the area around the sanctuary, Machne Shechina. Oy Tumah Seboy, the Chumash says that if you still have a Tumah on you, it's an extra pasuk, L'Rabbeis Mechusa Kapara. Even if you're Mechusa Kapara and you went to the mikvah and you had Harav Shemesh, but if you didn't bring your carbonis, you're not allowed to go into the area where the sanctuary is. So let's just get it clear. This area is off limits. If you're obligated to bring a carbon as part of your purification process, let's say you're a Zav or a Zava or your Ledes, you're not allowed to enter this area as long as you didn't bring the carbon. In this area, Machne Levi, it depends. If you're a Tvul Yoim and you didn't bring your carbon, you're not allowed to enter this Machne Levi. But if you had your sunset, then you could go into Machne Levi. And if you don't have to bring a carbon, you certainly could go into Machne Levi if you're a Zav. A Tmei Mace is permitted to go into Machne Levi. That's why they do tours on the Harabayas. New Mishnah. Tiglachas atahara ketzad. What is the pasuk of somebody who becomes tahar? We've seen this before. All right, let's just get the pictures. The picture is that when you come to the Beis Hamikdash and you want to finish your Naziris, you have to bring 3 animals. Here's the picture of a female sheep. That's for a chatas. Then an ola. You bring a male sheep for an ola. And then a ram for a shlamim. So there you got it. Chatas, ola, and shlamim. Then, so when do you take the haircut? The Torah tells us as part of the purification process, the Nazir has to take a haircut. So let's see what the Mishnah said. Tiglachas tahara ketzad. How does the Nazir finish off his Naziris? By taking the final haircut that shaves everything off, his head. Gimel B'Kamis, he would bring 3 animals to the Beis Hamikdash, Chatas, Oilo, and Shlamim, as we explained. V'shoichet es hashalamim, and he would shech the carbon shlamim, umagaleach alem, and then take his haircut. That's fascinating. So he would, right after bringing the carbon shlamim, perhaps sprinkling on the mizbeach, we're going to learn that he cuts his hair and he burns the hair underneath the pot where shlamim is cooking. You see, a shlamim is type of meat that you're permitted to eat from. So part of that, they would cook it in an area. I want to point out to you really on this picture in the Beis Hamikdash. Right over here, in this corner, I have an N over here. That's where the Nazir was. A Nazir would come there, take the haircut over there, and stick his hair underneath the pot that's cooking the shlamim. Not only that, he would take some sauce of the shlamim, some oil of the shlamim, and put it onto the hair, and then stick it under the fire while they're cooking the shlamim. So if you, I don't know how hair burning smells, but that's the point of that room called the Nazir room. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. This is the words of Rabbi Yehuda. So you take the haircut after the shlamim. Rabbi Loza says, Lo hoy megaleach ela al hachatas. Actually, you brought the chatas first and then the ola. So right after you bring the chatas, then you took your haircut. Chatas kidemis mikol mokim. The chatas always comes first, and Rabbi Loza says that's when he takes the haircut. And now, although Rabbi Yehuda said you should take the haircut after the shlamim, the gileach alachas mishloshtan, if you took the haircut, let's say after the ola or after the chatas, even Rabbi Yehuda would agree, Yatsa, it's okay. It's okay. It's just lechatchila. He says, wait till you bring the shlamim, the last carbon that you're going to bring, chatas, ola, shlamim. That's when you should take your haircut. Now, new Gemara, new Mishnah. The Mishnah continues. A new topic. Rav Shimon ben Gamliel Omer. Hevi gimel behemoths v'lo perish. A man brought 3 animals: a female sheep, a male sheep, and a ram. And he said, these are my nazir animals, but he didn't designate, this is my chatas, this is my ola, this is my shlamim. So it's obvious, haruya lechatas, the animal that's supposed to be the carbon chatas, we bring it for a chatas, tikar lechatas. The female sheep becomes the chatas. Laola, the one that's supposed to be the oila, is the male sheep, tikar oila, you bring it as an oila. L'shlamim, the one that's a ram, tikar shlamim, you bring it for a shlamim. So we can understand just by the setup of the animals that he brought, which one belongs to which carbon. Tana Rabbanim, the Gilach Hanozir Pesach Oil Moed. Look at this. The pasuk, if you read the pasuk literally, it says that the Nazir should take his haircut in front of the oil moed. If you look at the picture, I would think that the Nazir takes the haircut, let's say on these steps, right in front of everybody. He takes a haircut, right? So the Gemara says, no. Bishlamim akasim dav. What the pasuk is saying, that the Nazir takes his haircut after he brings the carbon shlamim. How do you know the shlamim is called Pesach oil moed? Shenema, because the pasuk says ushkotoi Pesach oil moed. You shech the carbon at the Pesach oil moed, the shlamim at the opening of the oil moed. So what the pasuk is saying, Vigila Han Nazir, the Nazir takes a haircut when he brings the carbon that's called Pesach oil moed, which is another name for a shlamim, as we see in the pasuk in Vayikra. So the Gemara asks a question: how do you know? Maybe the Chumash is telling you that the Nazir is supposed to take his haircut in front of everybody in the Beis Hamikdash. Maybe he's supposed to take a haircut in front of everybody on the steps, in front of the opening of the sanctuary. So the Gemara says, no, Amarta in King Derek Bizayin. That is totally disgusting to take a haircut in front of everybody. And Rabbi Yashi explained, ain't it tzarach, because when you're doing something disgusting, the Torah says, Hare Omer Torah le'sala b'malas al mizbechi. The Torah did not want any steps by the mizbeach. It had a ramp because he didn't want to, spread your legs, so to speak, walking up to the mizbeach, so you could be able to take little steps. And the Torah is concerned to do anything that's like somewhat disgusting while you're doing an avodah. When it's not an avodah, the derech bizayin, it's not an avodah. Just to have the guy in the middle of the Beis Hamikdash taking haircuts, that's disgusting. So therefore, where Taka did he take his haircut? He actually brought it to the room that they were cooking the Nazir meat, the shlamim of the Nazir. That room, he took his haircut. There was a barber's in those rooms in the corner. And Rabbi Yitzchak explained, Rabbi Yitzchak is Ein Tzarach. I don't even need a pasuk to tell me that you have to learn it misvara from logic that he shouldn't take a haircut in front of everybody. Because another pasuk says, the Nazir takes his hair from his nezer head, the nosan aloesh, and he puts it by the fire. So only he's missing taking and putting it under the pot. But if he's taking the haircut, right in front of Shar Niknar, then he can't right away put it under the pot. He has to take the hair off and bring it to the place where the pot is cooking, and then put it there. So that's why the Gemara said it cannot be. The Torah says take the hair off and put it under the pot. So it has to be right after you take it off. It has to be the pot right next to you. So if you're going to take the haircut over here on the steps right in front of Nikmar, you take the hair off, but then you have to walk it to where they're cooking the shlamim meat, and then put it under. And there's like a big gap. So the Torah was clearly did not advise you and did not let you take the haircut in front of everybody. It has to be in that room. Ikadamri, others say have another version. This is what Rabbi Yitzchak said. It's the same idea. The Torah is telling you, cut your hair, not in front of everybody, Pesach oil moed. That's how you read the pasuk literally. But it means when you're bringing the shlamim, that's when you take the haircut. And that's what Pesach oil moed means. Maybe the Torah is requiring you to bring take the haircut, mamish, really in front of everybody. Pesach oil moed. Here's a pasuk. The lokach esar roish Israel. You have to take the hair. So you take the hair off and put it by the fire. Mokum shu mavasha, the place where you're cooking, sham hoya megaleach. That's where you took the haircut. So again, same idea that the Nazir takes his haircut right in that room when they're cooking the meat. So it must be when the Torah says vigilach, when the Torah says vigilach hanazir, vigilach hanazir pasach oil moed, it means the Nazir takes the haircut when he brings the carbon called shlamim, which is another name for carbon shlamim, is Pesach oil moed. Now, Abba Chanan oimim mishum Rab Lezer. Abba Chanan, in the name of Rab Lezer, says no. He has another interpretation of that pasuk. Begila hanazir Pesach oil moed. The nazir takes a haircut by the opening of the oil moed. Pesach oil moed pasuach ein megaleach. If the doors to the sanctuary are not open, he cannot take a haircut. Normally, you see the big sanctuary over here. During the daytime, the doors were open over here and by the big building. Now, if it happened to have closed in the middle of the day, then the Nazir cannot take the haircut. It has to be open. So basically during the daytime. That's what he learned from that pasuk. Rab Shimon Shazuri says, he says that the Nazir does take the haircut in front of everybody. It's like maybe disgusting, but that's what the Torah wants you. The Nazir has to take the haircut in front of everybody. But the loy nazira, it's only the male has to take the haircut in front of everybody. The female Nazir takes her haircut in the private room. Because we go to Mem Dalet Amud Beis, Mem Hey Amud Beis. Why should she not take a haircut in front of everybody? What's the difference between a man and a female? Shema Yisgaraba Pirchei Kuna. There's some Yom Kahanim that are going to get aroused seeing this lady take her haircut in front of everybody. So we want her to take the haircut in a private room. But the man should take the haircut in front of everybody. Amaloi. So they said to Rav Shimon Zururi, why is it l'devarecha, according to your opinion, that we're more concerned that ladies should not be so out there in the Beis HaMikdash? Soita techiyah, but a soita is out there, and everybody sees the soita. The ksiv v'hemidah lifnei Hashem, and v'loy chashin and Shem yizkar ba pirchei kahuna. When we show off the soita before she drinks the water, we're not concerned about the young kahanim getting the hots for her. So why are we concerned by a nazir lady that no, we want her to go into the room to take her haircut? Alma lehen. So Rabbi Shimon says it's very simple. Zuka cheles upoikeses. The nazir lady paints her eyes blue and puts on makeup, and therefore she's all made up when she's cutting her hair. Zu, but the soita eina kecheles upoikeses. She's not made up. She's not having her eyes blue or putting some blush, and therefore we're more concerned about the nazir lady and then the soita lady. A little further. So we have three shitas. Vigilach sa'ar Pesach oil moed means either you take the haircut in front of everybody, or you have to take the haircut when the doors are open, or you take the haircut when you're bringing the shlamim. So now the Mishnah continues. Hoya noitil sa'ar roish nizra. You would take the hair of the nazir. Umashaleach tachas adud. He would put it underneath the fire, and we're going to learn that you're supposed to smear it with the sauce called roitev of the shlamim. So you take sauce, put it on the hair, take the haircut, and stick it under the fire. And the smell of hair burning will be used as fuel for the fire to cook the shlamim. If you took the haircut in Jerusalem, let's say the Nazir took his haircut in a barber in Jerusalem, then he would not use the hair to bring it to the Beis HaMikdash and you cook the shlamim with it. When do you say that? When do you actually have to bring the hair underneath the pot cooking? That's only the haircut for a nazir that became tahar. So if he's in the Beis HaMikdash and took his haircut in the Beis HaMikdash in that room, then you stick it under the pot. But the nazir that's tamei and he's now taking a haircut to restart his naziris, he would never send his hair underneath the pot, let's say underneath the carbon asham achatas. He doesn't bring a shlamim, but there was no haircut, there was no cooking the meat with the hair by a nazir tamei. Rabbi Meir Oimen, no. Hakoil mishalchin tachas adud. When nazir tahar, nazir tamei, they would all send it underneath the pot to cook. If the tamei nazir was in Jerusalem, then he didn't send his hair into the Beis HaMikdash to cook the asham with it, because he had two strikes against him. One, he's not a nazir tahar, he's a tamei, and he took the haircut in Jerusalem. But if he's a tamei in the Beis Hamikdash, Rameir holds he would cook the chatas or the asham with his hair. Okay, so a fantastic machlokus. The cooking with the hair, is it only limited to a nazir tahar like the Tanakama, or a mayor says even a nazir tamei would do that sometimes? Now, noitel sa'ar roishiv. We takes the hair. The Gemara explains. Tan Rabbanan. Ba'achakach noitel sa'roitiv. Very important. It's not just cutting the hair. You have to smear your head with oil from the shlamim, and then you v'noisin al sa'ar roishin Israel. You put it on the hair. Umashaleach tachas udud shlamim, and then you send it under the pot of the shlamim. The im shilach tachas adud shel chatas v'asham. If you were cooking the pot of the chatas or an asham, yatsa. So wait a second. Asham ben nazir tahar mi'ika. Does a nazir tahar bring a asham? What do you mean chatas and asham? Oil you don't cook at all. Amarava, and we learned that Tanakama holds that the nazir tamei doesn't cook with the hair. Amarava Rava says hachikama. This is what the brisa means to say. The brisa is really Rab Meir, who holds, but even with a nazir tamei would cook with the hair. Amarava hachikama. The nazir tamei, if he was a nazir tamei, mishleich tachsadut shel asam yatsa. This is Rab Meir, that he would send it under the pot with the asham, and it's good enough. Now, manahani mili. How do you know that you're supposed to take oil and smear your head with the oil of the shlamim? Amarava, Amakra, because the pasuk says asher tachas zebach hashlamim, that he puts his hair under the slaughtering of the shlamim. What do you mean? It could say shlamim. Why does it say zebach? Mizivcha yehitacha. You take a little piece of the shlamim and you put it underneath the pot. Well, you can't take the meat because the meat is, you need to eat the meat. So you take a little of the sauce, put it on the hair, and put that underneath the pot and have it cook. If you put it under the pot that's cooking the carbon chatas, remember the carbon chatas is different than a shlamim. It was only eaten by the kohen. But if you were cooking the meat of the chatas and using the hair, yatsa. My timer, what's the reason why? Maybe the Torah only wanted you to cook the shlamim with the hair, not the chatas. Makra zeva. The rabbi says chatas vashim. Torah says ashetachas hashlamim. Why does it say zevach hashlamim? To teach you to include that even if it's not the shlamim, if you're cooking the chatas or the asham, and you could put the hair underneath there, cook those pots, and you yotzei the mitzvah. Frag the Gemara. So if zevach comes to teach you that it could be even a chatas, didn't you use the word zevach to teach you that you have to have the part of the zevach on the hair, which means part of the sauce should be on the hair? So how can you use zevach to teach you something else? So the answer is you learn two things from this. My zevach. Why does the Torah say zevach? Why don't the Torah say use the sauce? Why does the Torah say zevach? It comes to teach you that even the chatas v'asham you can cook with the hair of the nazir. So the Gemara asks, maybe the whole point of the chumash is to teach you that you could cook the hair, you could burn the hair by the chatas and asham, but it's not teaching you sauce, something to do with the sauce. The Gemara says, "In came lema shlamim bezeva." If it's only teaching you that you could use a chatas and asham to burn the hair, then the Torah should say shlamim v'zevach. My zevach hashlamim shmami natarte. So you see two ideas from that. What are the two ideas? Again, one idea is that before the nazir cuts his hair, he has to smear it with oil, with the oil of the shlamim, the sauce of the shlamim. Put it on his hair and then cut it and then put it under the pot. But the other idea is that let's say they're cooking the chatas and he didn't want to wait around till they bring the shlamim. He could actually take a haircut by the chatas and just take some sauce of the chatas, put it on your hair, then take the haircut and put it underneath the pot. Next Gemara, and just take us to the Mishnah, and that's it. Every nazir, whether you're nazir tahir or nazir tamei, when you take a haircut, you're burning your hair underneath the pot. If you're a tamei, a nazir tamei, that you took the haircut in Jerusalem, you didn't come to the Beis Hamikdash, then you don't send the hair to the Beis Hamikdash to use it as firewood. No, for some reason they have to bury that hair right away. So if he's a tamei nazir and he took his haircut in Jerusalem, then he buried the hair in Jerusalem and didn't bring it to the Beis Hamikdash to use as firewood for the shlamim. for the Asham. Divrei Rameir. So you had two strikes against you. You're a Tameh, and you took the haircut not in the base of Mikdash in Jerusalem. Rabbi Yehuda is a sheet that we never saw before. Tahirim. Kan v'kan hoyim mishalchim. Tahirim, no matter where they are, would send it to the base of Mikdash, even if they're in Jerusalem or in the base of Mikdash. They always would burn the shlamim with their hair. Tameim, a nazir tameh, kan v'kan lo hoyim mishalchim. A nazir tameh never would burn the hair. This we didn't see in the Mishnah. That he holds nazir tameh. There's no such a concept of burning hair by the nazir to cook the meat. Chachamim says akol loy hoyim mishalchim tachas adud. Nobody would do it. You have to have two things. What's min tahar sheba migdash? You have to be a nazir tahar, and you have to be in the base of migdash. You have to have two elements. This is the Chachamim Tanakam of a Mishnah. You have to be a tahar, nazir tahar, and you have to be in the migdash. The nation is nasa kimitzvasa, because you're doing it the way the Torah said. Torah said you take the haircut in the base of migdash, and it only discusses taking haircuts by burning the hair by a nazir tahar. So that's the only person that would burn his hair cooking the meat of the carbon was the nazir tahar who took his haircut in the base of migdash, and that is the opinion of the Chachamim. Okay, Baruch Hashem, we finish Daf Memhei.